really like to give up and didn't really have that drive.
The expectation should be to win first place.
Get them to Ascent.
We kind of just threw at the end.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, MAD were winning 5 versus 3.
Look how quick this one.
Oh!
A lot of things changing in stage 2 of Challengers, and it's super exciting to see a couple of these teams at their debut, Prosperity among them, and they're going to be living up to that. It's going to be a Prosperity victory, 13-11 on the very first map of the series, Winthrop University's map choice. And Gompers, a lot of questions that maybe we had about this Prosperity roster, I think getting answered quite quickly, like, yeah, they're here, they can contend, and they're looking good.
You see a new team come in and you're thinking, you know what, there's a lot to learn. But I think they've learned it. They definitely have, right? The synergy was on point. We saw so many group pushes just to secure, whether it be entry frags, refrags, whatever the case may be. This team was on point with every single point of their game.
Yeah, I mean, Roy, it was definitely a close one, but when it's your opponent's map pick and something we get to see a lot of reps on from Winthrop University, I wouldn't expect it any other way. But Prosperity, I mean, this is something that's quite comfortable for them. And you had talked about, too, that this core of the team, like, this isn't just some random premier team. Like, there's a little bit more depth here, and that's something that really came to light in this first map.
Yeah, and I think it's that strategic depth that we really love to see on the analyst desk, right? Because I think any caliber of team can really handle early rounding, right? Like anyone can call out of spawn, but in my opinion, the true caliber of a team's potential is mostly in how they maneuver the late rounds. Like how can you maneuver the chaos, right? And this team seems to handle that quite well. They're setting up team fights. They know exactly where the gaps are. Their lurk timings are on point. It really did not feel like a fluke whatsoever. This was a really, really strong showing here for Prosperity in this first map.
Yeah, and I agree. It's about understanding the weak points, like you said, right? The adaptations from this team from the start was amazing. Off the rip, they knew they weren't familiar with, like, how competitive were the vibes coming into this. They were just ready to play their best game, but they took the adjustments, right? The aggressive plays that we got to see off the rip from Winthrop, they ripped that apart and started playing a very, very quiet start to the game. They started making sure that every swing, they were expecting someone to be there, and they started playing together. And I think that's what really tore Winthrop apart in that mid-round. I mean, in the middle of the game, because now they have to find a new plan. The ego they were coming in with, it got completely shut down.
I mean, Prosperity showing they have the teamwork, also showing that they can shoot, because Winthrop University has definitely been a team that's been praised for the mechanics, and Prosperity going toe-to-toe with that and above in this match with the 14 first kills. Whew. I don't know why that should be the tongue twister out of absolutely everything that could be said. All right, Sierra. But still, it was really nice to be able to see. And looking over at the individual player performances for this map, I mean, looking at the core, like, there is people on the opposing end here, Roy. Like, Flair and Ali had a really big step of performances, but it was still a Prosperity playing together that was able to shut that down.
Yeah, keep in mind that Ali was like, what, 18-7 or like 20 and something by the end of the first half. And he was having like an insane performance in this first half. But going into the second half, Flair really stepped up. But if you look on the other side for Prosperity, they don't really have like a crazy hard hitter. It was a lot of a team effort. Scary Shark, a very supportive player, popping off 22 kills. Manny, I mean, in the first half alone, he was just going absolutely crazy. And then, of course, Magic having 7 first kills. And that's half of that entire team's first kills all on him. So it's definitely a really strong showing here for Prosperity.
Yeah, team effort shined honestly above the rest. I agree, because what I really did like, though, is that they were also kind of cooperating with the ultimates a bit. I really liked how Manny wasn't necessarily an aggressive player, but when the ultimate was there for Clove, that's when they would strike. That's when Manny knew that, you know what, I can get one here and we can hit off the rip. So that really did carry the momentum a bit, because they were relying, on those moments where maybe they couldn't really find an opening, but then Manny was there to make sure that there was one. And I think that's what really led this team to success, and maybe those moments where it was getting a little bit tight.
I mean, I love the team play, but let's talk about 2 players that were always good at getting there too, and talk about Scary Shark and Manny in this match, because going into this, from this Game Changer scene, we've gotten to see Scary Shark, and we know that, Roy, that she is a fragger. Like, she goes out there and just woo! And then Manny as well, someone that throughout this map really impressed, like having really good timings, just knowing when to get aggressive. And then when he did, being always able to get 1 or 2, I think was just really nice. And this was a dangerous duo to contend against.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to remind all of us as well that Scary Shark was a former VCL player. She's been in this league before. She's experienced here, and that's why she has 175 damage per round. It's absolutely not it's not a fluke. It's not by luck. But going on to the other hand, for Manny, a player that we didn't really know much coming into this tournament, for him to have such a deep understanding of his lurk timings on Lotus. I mean, yeah, mechanically he's popping off, but it's so much more to it than that. His timings are impeccable. The way he comes through smokes, the way he closes out rounds in the end, just a lot of the little nuances that this team needed to close out these rounds, he was always capitalizing on.
Even looking at a couple of the rounds that would be quite big for Winthrop University, kind of just getting a little set back a little bit from the aggression from these two Gompers. And now I'm kind of curious, looking ahead in the series, if it's these two that are performing like this, what type of answer can Winthrop University even have?
Just really switching up the momentum, I guess. I definitely noticed, like, we iterated a bit on the adaptations that we saw coming through from Prosperity, but it felt like Winthrop was struggling to find their step, almost, at a lesser value at what we got to see from Prosperity. And, they did have a lot of trouble trying to adjust to maybe the aggressive, portion that was coming out of Manny, or maybe, the plays that we got to see a little bit more with a three-person push, like coming through on one person. It was very individualized on terms of Winthrop versus where Prosperity just felt like it was a lot more together. And I feel like, maybe trying to work as a team a bit more would push them towards that victory that they're looking for Winthrop.
I mean, they still have 1 or 2 more maps before we can claim an entire victory for the series. And let's start talking about the next map up. Of course, we are going to Prosperity's map pick, which, of course, whenever it's about to be your map pick and you're up one in the series, well, that just fares great, right? That's just Valorant 101 here. But Winthrop University, I feel like we've seen this tale so many times. They pick Lotus as their map pick first in the series. They lose it. And then they win the next 2 in the series. It's just the most Winthrop University thing. But I'm excited for Ascent because we haven't gotten to see this from them for a while, of course, with just the map pool and now the changes, and it's back.
Yeah, I think Ascent here is going to be really interesting because there's also the addition of Waylay that we haven't even really talked about much so far. I think we will maybe see that coming up, but just looking at, just quickly glancing over Prosperity's history, they actually do play this map in different leagues. They actually run the double Sentinel comp with Deadlock and Cypher with Yoru as the duelist, so it will be a very strong showing for them. Now, which half are they going to get on their map pick? That's up for debate. It's obviously they're going to be on the attack side, so Winthrop University's opting for that defense side, which can be and has been very tricky for a lot of teams that attacks out of Ascent, right? We've seen so many teams get absolutely blown out of the water on their own map pick when they start on that attack side. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of composition Winthrop will be running to see whether they're going to be opting for the double duelist or the double Sentinel or a double initiator composition.
I'm excited to see for the side of Prosperity, since we do see them play Ascent, but it has been a little bit. And with changes, we maybe do get to see something else. Whereas for Winthrop University, I genuinely just don't know. It's a team that is so flexible, but will also just play things that are comfortable to them, even if it's a little against the grain. So I'm hoping that we get something like a Waylay or whatnot. Like, do not get me wrong, but I'm just not entirely sure. But yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten the opportunity to see Ascent because it hasn't been in the map pool. But yeah, Roy, looking over this, yeah, I'm intrigued with how the Ascent is going to be rounding out this other thing of maps that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a feeling that they're going to be completely fine, right? Because Winthrop University is one of the most flexible teams in the league. Every player on this team can play multiple agents. They can play multiple roles. So really, for me, the only looming question mark is whether they actually have the double Sentinel composition, because it can be very tricky for so many teams, right? If you're going up against Vice, if you're going up against Cypher, there's just so much utility to sift through. And if you don't really have a strong game plan coming into it, it can be a very difficult map.
I am going to say, though, I think this might be a little more aimed in favor of Winthrop this time around. Of course, we obviously did get to see the banger of a match that we just got on Lotus coming through from Prosperity. But I think there might be more of a difference here in terms of their gameplay Ascent, right? That togetherness that we saw, not that easy to really execute as I guess as big as they did. The entrances are a bit smaller. The sites are a little bit more hectic in terms of what's going on with positioning, right? Where can you stand? What util you're going to be using? So I think here on Ascent, it might be a little bit more strategical, but we do actually see Waylay, and this is exciting. I'm really enjoying this. The difference from Prosperity this time.
Yeah, I mean, Roy, we've seen Prosperity, but they're switching it up. Winthrop University, this seems a little bit more of a usual comp, bring in the Tejo, but Prosperity, we're going full spice. We see the Waylay. Not the first time we've seen it in Challengers, but I'm excited to see what impact Magic has here.
Yeah, this is the clash of the new styles, right? They're not even old style versus new style. It's double new styles. We're seeing the Tejo instead of the KO. I'm actually a big fan of the composition that Winthrop University is running. I think it's one of the best comps. I think the Tejo Sova work really well on this map, being able to have so much access to information as well as so much utility, and it's so oppressive on this map. And then looking on the other side towards Prosperity, a composition that is popularized by G2. I'm also a massive fan of this composition as well. They just have so much utility to work with among all the initiators, with Waylay as well, and so much mid-rounding aggression and so many tools at their disposal.
And we were so focused on Manny and Scary Shark from that first series that we didn't even really get to talk in depth about Magic. But Magic, I mean, 7 first bloods, you know, Magic 7, it all makes sense. And someone who really did step up. So now on this agent, it's time to see if Winthrop University has what it takes to stop this Waylay, or if it's going to be a Prosperity Esports in their debut with a 2-0 victory. It's time to head on over to Ascent and head back over to your casters, Nerds and Lemon.
Thanks so much, Sierra. I'm excited for Ascent. Be my first time seeing Waylay. I don't know if we saw it in Challengers yesterday, but Prosperity are coming in with all the ideas, Nerds.
I'm so excited for Waylay as well. They are coming in with so many ideas, and it's a change up between two, different metas, like Roy was saying, and everything. When Roy was saying it, I was just like, I was getting more and more excited at every second of anticipation for this matchup. The thing that's also really glaring in my mind is the head-to-head between Infiltrator and Magic last time, and now how it's going to play out, because they played both on Neon, and now they're playing really similar in terms of the entry role of Waylay still has that entry, but obviously the difference of utility that you can back out at any moment. The head-to-head's going to be different. And more than that, their initial first context as well as that mid-round is going to change, because when you're on attack, when you're on defense, Waylay can go in and out, and you can bring Waylay back for that mid-round. So much nerd talk, but getting into it, it's a 4-stack towards A.
Yeah, and this Waylay kind of plays like a hybrid of Jet and Yoru, the way you're able to turn to a starting position. You got double dashes. Excited to see what Magic can do. Definitely an agent that suits their play style, but it's first blood for the defense, catching that lurk in the middle of the map. So Prosperity have to scale back up, and they could be walking into the line of sight here of moves. We'll see how many heads he can claim, and not enough. Prosperity continue their march towards the mid-map.
Oh, look who's there. It's Snazzy. They don't clear into it, though. They're still trying to lean towards this A site.
Okay, Flare has to keep them at bay. 1-2, runs out of bullets, but Infiltrator has his back. And this has really ruined the round for Prosperity. I mean, it already started on a downturn when you got first blooded, especially losing all that map control that you had to work up against, giving up information to Winthrop.
30 seconds
It's Vantic in a 1 versus 3, but the spike is down to his left, and Ascent is so hard to attack into when everybody's set up. So
yeah, I mean, once they lost that spike and Flare popping off, it wasn't doom and gloom, but it was kind of there. And Winthrop now starting on a more upper foot. I remember the desk talking about how this is a Winthrop special where they go down on the first map, they pick Lotus, and they bring things back up. And honestly, they have brought up the speed here in terms of just being as a team, kind of coordinated. A lot of the stuff we saw previously on Lotus. I think that more than anything, also the way that they used Flare's utility to stall out, very similar to the previous comps.
okay.
All right,
Watch
Ollie.
out for Ali, man. Just the same thing like he did on Mound on Lotus, where he almost had that ace until Infiltrator got into the picture. So, man, the paranoia as Prosperity walked in. What timing from Winthrop? Prosperity not even wanting to kind of play a default to play the mind games. They just, okay, we got discovered. Let's try and chase down Ali, and they walked into the Winthrop trap.
Yeah, now also more than that, Infiltrator has an outlaw. So if we're talking about traps, unfortunately, Vantic's going to be the only one to kind of feel that pressure. But Otherwise, it's still very useful. We have a really solid buy-up out of Winthrop. They're looking for that 3-0 start that we saw on Lotus out of Prosperity. And when you have players such as Ali and the caliber of the Winthrop squad, it wouldn't be surprising for them to get such a really good, solid base at the beginning of this game and carry that into a victory. Although, it's full Vandals and Rifles on the other end for Prosperity. What is this spam?
For some spam angles have been patched up here on this map, but Prosperity definitely giving up on their initial A hit, hoping to cause chaos in mid. And there's still an Odin that's being loud and proud. Nasi has already gotten 2. And with the smoke in place, Prosperity can't even see where to really clap back against this. Now the spike is down in the middle of the map, but it's not getting any easier. Magic and Vantic are left. They got Vandals, so that's great. Trying a different angle, but these steps are being heard. Nasi with an Odin, just loud and proud around the corner, gets his 3rd, leaving Magic in a 1 versus 2, and position discovered. Winthrop really running this map.
I mean, and you get some free upgrades as well. Ollie carries over the Odin spam that's been working so well for Nasi. You have Winthrop University firing on all cylinders at the start here. Prosperity going down to an eco. They bought up weapons previously. I did enjoy the sort of thought process of the setup here towards mid to allow that Waylay to dash on in. But unfortunately, the suppressive fire and the timings of Winthrop were just a little too strong. It was just there when it was needed, especially off the back of Nasi finding a double and then pulling up with the squad. Winthrop really showcasing that, you know, we are warm now. We are in this game.
Winthrop some really good angles, and they did just spot Infiltrator updrafting, so Prosperity are hoping to do something about that, but these Tejo drones from Flare have been delaying things so well. Of course, now the drone, or the salvo's delayed, and now the drone gets shot. So Prosperity are just gonna keep trucking. I feel like Ascent is a map that you have to flip-flop around, and now Prosperity, they get discovered, and they're forced to play these gunfights, and Magic is huge. Now the 3rd kill this round for the duelist.
Magic winning that.
One.
Magic winning that could have single-handedly won in the game here. Or the round.
See if you're right, because against this rifle, okay, they're sealed. Magic gets spotted, and Ali still gets the best of them. What a clutch for Winthrop.
And it had to come down to a clutch because of the Magic 3K down towards mid, along with all the pressure. The ultimate being used there to try and secure that upset Thrifty, but unfortunately doesn't come through. A timeout going to be called right before the 5th round to give them some setup for it. Maybe talking a little bit about that ult usage, as well as Yuki having their ult up, as well as Manny being close to theirs. A bunch of ultimates coming online. But the reason I even talk about ultimates is that the Magic, you know, ulti there using the Waylay ultimate, I get it. It's just to try and like really like have that be a sway round in their favor, but it's such a good ultimate to pair up with other ultimates like the Armageddon that it seems almost interesting why you're using it in that moment rather than just swinging into it. A lot of really good stuff out of Prosperity. They have really good thought processes and good calls, but they're just getting sort of outgunned and outmatched by Winthrop in terms of pacing. That's the outmatched element of it. Yeah. And I would like to see that really be addressed here in this timeout.
Yeah, just Prosperity are trying to win this map off of the firepower, kind of playing it like Lotus, where we get that opening pick or you get first contact and you just run on in, where a lot of other teams play Ascent a lot slower, a lot more for map control. They have lurks, they have options, they scale the map. It takes a lot more time to get through these rounds for most teams, but not for Prosperity. Even when the intel advantage is for Winthrop, Prosperity try their best, but now they'll have to claw their way from an 0-4 deficit. Now knowing that Ali has hung around this A door, just immediately the Tejo drones to punish Ali. If he were to overextend and then go for the teleport, a big punish for Prosperity. Now they get the orb and some time to think.
Good call to flush out Ali, who has been a thorn in the side of Prosperity. And now this is the mid-round calling, like where are they going to be going here? We do see some utility being expended off of Winthrop to gain that advantage, more information, as well as heavy weaponry on Infiltrator and Nasi. So they're still set up for success. It's just a matter of finding these Prosperity players who have slowed this down to a snail's pace, really trying to draw a potential rotate towards the B site because you have that Vice wall up already. They don't go for it.
And for Infiltrator to have a round 5 op too, and that'll be pushed out of position as to now outrun the Armageddon. And well, Flare will take up the helm. Bodyguard at the front door, a 2-for-1. Of Prosperity, still members left, but fighting for map control is tough. Winthrop, they pop out of smokes at these unexpected moments, but Prosperity were ready this time for it. Nazi 1v3 with the Odin, and it's Prosperity getting their first offensive round after, well, at least adapting and overcoming Winthrop's defense for once.
Great play. They got, like we talked about this a little bit, they got aggressive, took down Ollie, and then slowed it down. But even more than that, something to highlight in the mid-round was Scary Shark finding not only a 3K, but having a lot of impact with her utility and setting up for success, even dying near the end and being traded out. Super valuable for the squad in terms of just being that individual player. The Shark swims on in, and it seems like they dive on in deeper. More than that, Prosperity, efficacy to their timeout. It worked in their favor. They had a really good game plan off of it, and it should give them some more room to work with in these next and coming rounds.
Also, Winthrop lost the op. That was such a boon for them to hold A. And now, the Hunter's Fury from Nasi to keep everyone in check, and Prosperity, they had their parade rained on before they could even get a march going. They just keep walking into this troop of Winthrop that dismantled them. And it's a flawless round at that.
It's a 20-second round right there.
Yeah.
It went from being a snail going towards the finish line to, you know, you think maybe like a turtle, but no, we're going for the hair immediately because we're just running straight into it. And a great setup for Winthrop just to kind of play passive still and not really overextend or do anything crazy, react to what Prosperity is going to do. And they're beyond ready here. You see Infiltrator along with the rest of the squad working in tandem. It's beautiful to see.
Okay, just standing in the salvos there is crazy. Kind of a good adaptation from Prosperity. They usually have the one salvo at the front door for Ali, but to have it towards Wine in case Winthrop was going to try to play around that, really smart approach from Prosperity. Does it matter? No, because Winthrop, they lost the 1 or 2 to salvos, and well, Winthrop still have better rifles, so 6-1 now.
Just clean up the eco and keep on building. Keep on building into it is what Winthrop is deciding to do. More than just keeping the rifles, they have some ultimates online. You have Infiltrator with a Blade Storm for retake, as well as that booned op that's carried over and built into it. I just love that Infiltrator is here like, you know what, I'm gonna set up Ollie. Like, if I'm gonna go down here, Ollie's gonna race swing and take the fight against me. Whereas Prosperity, though, they have yet to find that same, like, coordination, I guess, that they did previously. Maybe if they slow it down even more like they are doing right now, but...
And an off back for Winthrop, and that's been quite troublesome as Prosperity have this chess match over at A between the two Omens, but the real chaos broke down in the middle of the map, and Prosperity have tried this min-map scramble before, and this time they're able to squabble up against Winthrop. Now equal numbers. Ali's been a factor. That has been subtracted from the equation. Now Manny, oh, what a pivot there from Flare. Now at least the spike is safe and sound for Prosperity over at A, but the neural theft advantage activated there for Moobs.
And this retake has got they got info. Winthrop has had full info.
Yeah, the swing timing is great. Neural theft to know exactly where those defenders are. Now you're playing hopscotch against the salvos, and a great retake at the end of the day for Winthrop.
They just had full info off the Moobs, neural theft, and then even more so, the setup for the salvos was set up in such a way that they knew exactly where in, like, they knew exactly where Vantic was going to end up, right? It's either that or a TP, and even then, you know where to peek off the rip, so the crosshair placement, everything, you have no elements of the equation. They're going to carry over the op, give it to Infiltrator, so they can keep their economy rolling here. Prosperity has already, you know, they've timed out, they've done everything they've needed to do, they've tried changing up the pacing of it, but it just has not worked. And
one enemy remaining.
Going into this next round, I mean, they're not going to have much to work with, but they do have ultimates and weapons, light shields to boot, actually full utility. So no, they do have a decent amount to work with, actually.
Yeah. Winthrop still have the op too. They'll just be sitting in the middle of the map. So Winthrop have a lot of their bases covered. Prosperity have been hitting A quite frequently, so I can understand Winthrop wanting to stack that right side of the map. It's all about how much Vantic can really bait, having to get eyes on mid, using this Tahoe drone. It's going to force Winthrop into cover.
I like that Winthrop's respecting all of the pushes out of Prosperity and then just playing reactive to how Prosperity's going. Calling is really strong out of Winthrop to just be like, we need to be disciplined here because we are on a razor's edge of losing. Like, if we lose this map, it's 2-0. We get upset. We win this, it's a comeback, and they have their story built up.
Prosperity still have to make up this deficit, though. They've been getting really beat down, but this is a Prosperity team that have played a different comp. Like Roy talked about the double Sentinel, and obviously Waylay is very new to the game. So Prosperity, I think this is the week to experiment when the stakes are as low as they can be. And you got the map 1 buffer, of course, but now Prosperity have just been spotted by the camera there of Moves, so he's gonna have a lot on his shoulders. You got the Armageddon pushing the back site, so Prosperity don't have to worry about reinforcements. They still haven't found where Moves is, and now thanks to the Manny ult, you'll have a weapon advantage for Prosperity, but who cares when you just have Infiltrator jumping around corners with knives? Prosperity just took way too long for the site control, and at least the kills are better late than never with the spike planted. Knives are out. You got the op, but not a win against the shotgun. Yuki, we'll tell him how it's done.
That got very nasty very quickly. Very dirty and super brawly between both of those teams. We saw Steel Garden, we saw Armageddons, we saw From the Shadows, ultimates galore being piled up into this, as well as this Blade Storm that we get highlighted. And Infiltrator looked poised for it, even going for a super aggressive play, but just barely whiffs. And all of that mounts into Winthrop losing the round. Prosperity feeling a lot better into it. Their slow play starting to work down into mid, and then deciding on where to end off. It's gonna force a change out of Winthrop. Look at this op.
Oh. You always gotta worry about this op, and you weren't able to deny it before. But man, the eco is so low for Winthrop, so if Prosperity can just start putting a dent before this half is over, that would be ideal for them.
It's been cleared out, so they know mid's not gonna be pushed into, and now it's just the slow control from Prosperity is gonna, I mean, it would probably be dismantled. Look at the position of this op. Infiltrator's been so good about repositioning it.
Oh man, yeah, Infiltrator definitely makes up for the uncharacteristic whiff with a 3K on the op. Better with the gun than the knives. I'd rather bring a gun to a gunfight anyway. So Winthrop have more than enough set themselves up for a victory here, doubling the numbers. You got the Tahoe drones, you got Vantic playing frantic, now has to sidestep more, now taking shots through the wall. Vantic will stay patient, will stay composed. Now Ali is in cover. Tahoe drones that he has to dodge. Nasty above. Hoping to wash over this moment with the smoke. The only thing protecting Prosperity, but Vantic goes for a teleport inside of the site, and Yuki is like, well, this round is chalked. So,
wow.
Unfortunate play did not work out for Prosperity.
I think I mentioned this in the mid round, is just the fact that we see Infiltrator moving around. It's hard for Prosperity to kind of call around this. Yuki did have some good calls, like let's play slow, let's try and really adapt to this, but immediately you can see Infiltrator went to an entirely different position, not only from the start of the round, but also near the mid round. And how do you call around that? You're down to an eco on the second to last round. The ultimates haven't been working. The only ultimate you have is the Waylay ult, and that's not going to be useful unless you have a teammate to play with it.
Wait, Infiltrator's flashed and still gets a kill. He's so insane. Decides to not step backwards towards Wine. That's how Infiltrator died to a salvo before, but steps forward into a flash, still gets the kill. It is traded though, but Prosperity managed to grab a rifle from that. So it's all up to Magic, seeing how he can break into the site with the ult.
Magic picking up a weapon here is huge because it could sway it in their favor. You don't really have much supportive ultimates besides maybe if you can farm some of them up, but on Sheriffs, this isn't Lotus, right? We haven't really seen some of that pop-off utility or the weaponry.
just Winthrop has so much info because of Ali having eyes on mid. Prosperity may have made it look like they were leaving, but from just a delayed approach, but Winthrop had them downloaded from the start. What a gap in the score.
Last round before the switch.
As the announcer says, it's the last one before we have to swap things through. Crucially, one away for Scary Shark and Yuki on theirs. In terms of ultimates, the economy is just stacked up for Winthrop, and time again, it's just been, I feel like at this point, it's also just a matter of like the confidence out of Winthrop is there because they're able to peek into these angles and they haven't really been punished. There hasn't really been much of a slow play other than that. I believe it was round number 7, right? We haven't seen that. It's just been a lot of like defaulting into mid crawls and plays.
Help him! What? No way, he just 180s magic on his dashes. That was Prosperity's chance to deny this up. This guy is a monster. This was the infiltrator we wanted to see ramp up to this point. And now it's just Vantic in a 1 versus 2 and the spike is down.
It's a matter of time here.
Oh, just the slow approach out of the smoke. Could have maybe swung back in, but the challenge the up.
Switching sides.
That's some confidence from Vantic's side.
I think that round 12, literally proved exactly what I meant when I said it just oozes levels of confidence out of Winthrop that they didn't have necessarily, and I'm happy to see it because they lost the first map. Now that they're able to carry that over, you have so much individual potential here, and just I'm happy to get a replay of this. You see the dash coming through, the flood, Flare's there for backup, 180 no scope shot, and gets 3 off the back of it all. So now you're going up against this, right? We do have a change of pace. It's attack side for Winthrop, defense out of Prosperity. I think actually Roy brought this up on the desk, right? Like, this is kind of how teams have been, faltering here on Ascent.
Okay, Prosperity wastes no time to just deathball out of B, get a first blood, get the orb. Do they cash out though? Winthrop are wrapping around. And it's Magic getting back into position, crossing back over to support A, and Winthrop have had this middle of the map. And a near miss on the headshot. Infiltrator's gonna test the waters, has Magic buried, goes for the second through the smoke, and Winthrop are just playing as a team. Prosperity are not getting these 1v1 duels that kind of gave them a lot of success on Lotus. Winthrop have really united and overcome their demons of Prosperity. They're getting real close to going and forcing a map 3.
Just such a great individual outplay from Infiltrator to dash in, crosshair break, play out of the bubbles. Makes me think of a bubble dance, and at this point, it's just a dance of death because Infiltrator's been farming them up. I brought this up a little bit, but it's what Roy said earlier, where teams sometimes have a hard time, right? Like, you start off on attack, you have a hard time. Don't know exactly what the wording was, but at the end of the day, I think Winthrop just has this in the bag and the confidence is there. We're gonna need to see some miracles out of Prosperity, who have a light buy up. They have Sheriffs and 3 Stingers, but they're not really going for a rush death ball. Instead, they're just gonna hold everything but mid.
Yeah, Prosperity need to force this. They've tried a new composition, and it's rather Winthrop. We haven't seen them on Ascent for quite a while. I don't even remember last time Winthrop played us. Yeah, probably just before he was in the map pool, obviously. But like, and for them, Winthrop to look this clean, this dominant, is maybe just a question of Winthrop needing to be warmed up. And this is the stage for Winthrop to show their consistency. They've had kind of silly losses against teams that they definitely should have beaten before. And dropping a map, definitely, okay, Winthrop are beatable. But yeah, I definitely think we're going to map 3. I think you're right.
Yeah. Moobs picking that up is just going to lock some more in here, right, Lemon? Like, okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, wait, pause. Okay, okay. Wins that against the pistol.
30
little sketchy there. Prosperity, though, did not get the spike dropped, and Winthrop already have moves inserted into B, so you don't have to waste time scaling back up. There is less than 20 seconds, though, for Winthrop.
Annie's there, though. If they can stall, this is very winnable for Prosperity.
Oh, there's the flash, and Manny just finishing off what he started then. 5 seconds. Spike about to be planted. Manny on his way to prevent that. Couldn't. But now Flair has the 1v1. Wins it. Fantic and Scary Shark on low health. Flair and Alley with better weapons. At least Scary Shark picks up the stinger. And Vantic has to buy time. It's down to a 1v1 to see if Winthrop get to match point. And Flair just has to protect the post plant.
Oh my
Just with the
god.
pistol clutch. We were all just holding our breath on that one.
That's what I'm saying is like in that moment, it's so winnable for Prosperity. You've just got some insane levels of play. Scary Shark alongside Vantic working hand in hand, catching Ollie off guard, who's been such a star player. You even hit the paranoia. And at the end of the day, Flair just has the confidence, hits the right click in the moment, whether it's confidence or luck. It doesn't matter because it's all going in Winthrop's side. A 12-2 scoreline for a different composition that Prosperity has not been able to prosper on here. It's just unfortunate, I think is the word.
See if Manny can turn this into an unfortunate situation, being the bodyguard, having the wall forward too to look for isolations, the thorns. And Waylay, Magic on a crossfire angle, just hoping Winthrop walk in, but Winthrop are just gonna go in blindly, not knowing where the Sentinel is as they try to explore their options. Alley gets caught by a crossfire from Prosperity near the middle of the map. And now the updraft to try not trigger the wall. At least Infiltrator will try to do it on his own with an outlaw. It's not the most ideal weapon to do it with, but he's safe and sound, hoping for Winthrop to follow up on his trajectory. His moves now is to take care of what Infiltrator left behind. So Infiltrator's watching backside. Spike is down. Prosperity only have Yuki, and that's to save the map.
Yeah, match point. I mean, you have someone like Infiltrator just being alone on site, not flushed out, not punished at all. It's a recipe for disaster. Nashi with the 4K. Nasty. It's just nasty for Nashi there. I mean, I digress though. That was a huge display of confidence out of Winthrop. And even more than that, just really good play from just the individual level out of Infiltrator. A huge highlight for that player that I think the desk is going to discuss in depth, but that's Prosperity is going to have to look back at that. They're going to have to take a break and really think about, okay, how are we playing this next map? Because that Ascent was unfortunate.
Yeah, Winthrop, I believe, got to play defense first on both times, so it seemed like they had a much more synced plan, and it's a lot harder to attack on Ascent than it is Lotus, but Winthrop just had the trap there, and Prosperity never pivoted to another site. They had their lurks kind of die early, so to scale back around the map was very difficult for Prosperity, and Winthrop just showed their experience in strides. And Prosperity, I mean, they were trying out a new comp. I'm looking forward to seeing more Waylay and the potential that this new agent can bring, but we're going to map 3, folks. We're going to see you after this break. Let's talk to the desk.